So, we're not going to do an unboxing. This is a knife that I've owned for a while. It is a CIVIVI Cogent, and it is a button lock and 14C28N steel. And I super like this knife. It had a small chip on the tip, so I reprofiled it. I thought, well, might as well put a little review up on it. So I've had it for a couple of years, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it apart. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll take it apart. I'm gonna clean it and lube it if necessary. It doesn't need any tuning. This thing is perfect. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to take it apart. We'll clean it up, lube it, and talk about it just a little bit. It should be a fairly short video. I'm not even sure that I remember having this knife apart ever. Looks like one of the pocket screws is also connected. So I don't know. People are interested, but it had a couple of T8s, and then one of these backspacer. The pocket clip screws are T6s. So we'll change a bit and just use two drivers so we keep it moving. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I hear the pocket clip thing, but I'm kind of into, when it comes to pocket clips, I'm kind of functionality, and if it's got that, I'm good. All right. Okay. It's got steel liners. Pretty clean. Looks awful dry in here. I don't see any oil, so I'm kind of glad that I took it apart. We'll lube it, clean it a little bit. I find button locks aren't too complicated, but they can be cumbersome, like just managing the parts and everything where it's supposed to be and doing all that. Almost completely disassembled. These are screwed in. Well, this pin isn't. There we go. But these are screwed in from the backside, and there is no oil or dirt or anything in there, so I'm not going to disassemble that part. And I just grabbed that blade, and I have reprofiled it. So not advisable, because sharp. Yeah, stupid sharp. All right, let me just wipe everything down real quick, and we'll put it back together. Shouldn't take just a second. Everything's pretty clean, but I did notice that it's pretty dry in here, so a little oil is probably going to go a long way. Which, I don't know, it's one of those knives where you kind of go, yeah, it's dirty, or it's dry. It could use a little lube. But how's it going to improve? Because the action on this thing is already phenomenal. I mean, spoiler alert, like, who cares really? But, I was going to talk about the action once I put it together. But, yeah, the action on this thing's flawless, man. No lock stick. There's no detent lash. There's no movement when it's closed. There's no... the thing flies out. All right, we're already set, so let's get it back together. I think we'll start with kind of the way we finished there. That button recesses there. And then I think it was the blade. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of making a little contact with that blade, and whew, it's sharp. It'll cut you. I don't know. There's always the, well, why do what's the purpose of having a work knife, / carry knife that sharp? And I don't know. I mean, hence the whole it's a knife. I'm going to use it to cut stuff. All right. So I got ahead of myself. What are we doing here? Trying to talk and walk and chew gum at the same time, and clearly I am proving that that's not good. All right. Got to put bearings and stuff in here that are required to be there. Yeah, so, I mean, I guess there could be an argument for a knife being too sharp. I mean, I kind of don't, I'm a little cautious with my, like, kitchen knives, sort of, because if you're not prepared to handle those, and, you make them ridiculous, being able to slice a tomato is one thing, but being able to shave hair is a whole nother level, I guess. And I don't want anybody to hurt themselves. I feel like I'm missing something. It's probably this right here. Let's get that back in there. Not really sure why I took it out. I guess maybe just to do a complete disassembly. I think I'm going to put just a dab here. Oop, hold on. Man, I just keep going back and forth on this one a bunch. Well, now that I see that, I can finish that scale. Look, do you see how easy that knife fell open there? A roller. Just a roller. So this Cogent, I purchased it, and it was kind of one of those next day eBay things. And then I got it, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised. It exceeded my expectations, and I'm going to get into why here in just a second. Almost completely put back together here. We'll get this pocket clip on. But I have a lot of budget knives, and they're all kind of from the same places, Amazon, White Mountain Knives, Blade HQ. I pick them up at all the same places. Okay, so done. We'll go ahead and get all this stuff off the table, and let's check this action and see if we've got any rock. I'm going to tighten that up just a hair. Actually, quite a bit. That was off. All right. Let's see. Yeah, maybe just a tad too tight. I mean, sort of free to go. I mean, I don't mind it a little bit on the tight side, but let's readjust and see where we're at. Yeah. I'd rather have a little tight and no rock in that blade than better action. And this, when I say better, This is just a quick wrist flip, and it's open, closed, and then speaking of the action, so we're all together. But speaking of the action, this flipper tab is really kind of subdued behind this little jetty out here, this little piece here. So it's kind of hidden back there, but you're amazing jimping on it. So your finger catches it really well, and we're above the pivot pin. So boom, comes right out. And so even with just a slight amount of effort, that thing will fling out there and get it. But if you get after it, I mean, it rings. So amazing action, up and down, no complaints. You can fling it with the button, close it with the button. You can use the flipper tab. Really nice. The button is almost, I'm going to say, well, it is. It's flush with the scale, so it's recessed. So with intention to get that button, which is good. It's better than it's sticking up and you bumping into it all the time. The grip. So the grip on this thing, just the design and the way that they've chamfered these scales and this milling in this G10 here, it almost seems kind of random, like somebody kind of hacked at it, but surely not. That every scale that's on this knife is going to look exactly like that. But so what's the result of that? This knife, this is where this knife surprised me. The strong grip on this knife is just stellar. I mean, it is really good. It's a lightweight, 3 ounce, maybe slightly less than 4, right around 4, I guess, maybe, but lightweight. And when you wouldn't think that when you put a strong grip on this knife, that it would be as confident that it is. So there's jimping on the spine, and it doesn't look super aggressive, but when you dig your thumb here for with a thumb grip, it works. It really works. So the grip on this, the strong grip, I just super confident that any forward-facing work that I put in with this knife, I'm going to stay in a firm grip. Just wonderful. I can just get my 4 fingers and clear a little bit on the back. I can feel the pocket clip, but I'm not going to call any of that hot, and I'm locked in there. So I could go here as well, easily, just as strong, but this works. And then there is the opportunity to choke up on this knife. There's a nice little space here to choke up, and I don't know, a little detail work and whatever. But the grip on this knife is just super nice, even this way. Yeah, just locked in, 100% locked in with this knife. And so that's what the pleasant surprise was. I just had no idea that this thing was going to be so good in the hand. The pocket clip, deep carry, when that's in your pocket, it basically disappears in your pocket, and easy in and out, great tension. Once this thing's in, it's in, and it's one hand in, one hand out. Super simple. Love that design. Sometimes I get in knives and then I try the pocket clip, and it's like, well, you made a great knife and then you put a horrible pocket clip on it. But these are just simple and work wonderfully. So safety. I always like to check these, because it seems like some manufacturers make it an afterthought to see if the knife is safe. And what I mean by safe is if it's in my pocket and I'm reaching in, am I going to possibly get blade contact? So on this backspacer, 100% safe. That's a pass. Can't contact the blade anywhere in here. And then the other one is the tip. And, if you're reaching in your pocket, man, you don't want to catch that tip. I've been cut by a knife like that, and this one is 100% good to go. So the pocket clip's good, the tip is recessed in there, and the backspacer is safe as well. So price. I think I paid around $60 for it, and currently, leaning into availability, this knife's available on Amazon for like right at $60 with the 14C28N. I think they have some other versions now that they're using Nitro V or whatever steel on it. That I hear is comparable. I'm not a metallurgist, man. I don't know. I just know that I have a liking for 428C. It sharpens well. It does well. So I reprofiled this earlier this evening, and you know, it works for me, and I don't have to put a lot of work into these blades to make them, the 14C28N, to make them cut well. I run it through my Kin Onion blade attachment, and they come out super, super sharp. Like, I mean, from the end to the tip, they will just whittle this fine little phone book paper. And pretty much sure that it'll push cut through it once I get it started. Yeah. So I really like the 14C28. It sharpens really well for me, and it's pretty durable. You know, I don't beat up knives the way I used to. I kind of just put them in my pocket for the most part. I used to beat them up pretty good, but anyway, so the knife's available through Amazon. I'm gonna kind of call it a budget knife, only because it's 14C28N, and it's just over $50. Kind of my budget number is $50 on a budget knife. If it's less than $50, I'm very comfortable saying budget knife. But with the 14C steel on it being just over the $50 mark, I'm going to call it like a good button lock from CIVIVI. That's a budget knife. I don't know that you can buy this much budget button lock with this steel for $60. So, I mean, I'm not saying you can't, because there's so many things going on in the knife world. I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying this is a good deal. I really like this knife, and I recommend it. I'll link it down below somewhere in those notes. Man, I don't have all that figured out, but I'll link it down there. If you want to go get you one, don't hesitate. And there's 10 or 12 versions. I think there's maybe carbon fiber. Well, I don't know if there's carbon fiber. There's micarta, a couple of different micartas. There's Damascus, all kinds of different G10 scales. So yeah, cool knife, great in the hand. Excellent, in my opinion, lightweight EDC knife. This is an excellent EDC knife that if I'm not planning on it, I got to put some work in, and I've got a knife in my pocket, I wouldn't hesitate for a second with this particular blade. So there's my review. Appreciate you watching.